Greetings, folks, and welcome to today's show. Just to get your attention, what we're going to talk about today is reinventing secondary education in this country, and I guess in this city. So, welcome to today's show. Education is always on the front burner around here, and that holds true today. We've been talking for several years about reinventing schools in one form or another. Teacher pay, teacher qualifications, evaluation systems, and vouchers, and charter schools, and all that good stuff. And it's now being, there's another set of subjects coming onto the agenda that will make some of that kind of fall by the wayside. And it looks like that Common Core, which has been one of the things going on that's already been under a fair amount of criticism, is still with us and seems to hold the promise of being able to stay. But coming right along behind that is the Tennessee Promise, in which Governor Haslam has just introduced a measure to make community colleges and technology colleges tuition free. So we now will have free education through was equivalent of 6 years of high school instead of 4. Our purpose in talking about this is really to get you to seriously be aware and think about the implications of this, and the fact that higher technology is education is here. And our guest today is Dr. Dan Lawson, who always seems to land in the middle of things, and so we'll get with him. Thanks for joining us. And
it's always good to be here, Tom.
Always a good resource, and we'll take a short commercial break and come back and get right into these things.
The highest standard of trust offers a sense of safety and comfort. It's established over time. You know when you see it. You know when you feel it. There's a standard of trust in healthcare. It's the Joint Commission Gold Seal of Approval. In 2003, Life Care Center of Tullahoma voluntarily achieved this accreditation and maintains it still today. Life Care, meeting a higher standard because residents matter most.
Welcome to Merle Norman, located inside Northgate Mall in Tullahoma. Since 1931, Merle Norman Cosmetics have been researched, developed, manufactured, and packaged in the USA, using the highest quality ingredients and unmatched customer service to help women look and feel better about themselves.
Hi there, I'm Christy Almacher, owner of Merle Norman. I want to talk to you a little bit today about Merle Norman products. We have a large line of skincare and cosmetics for all skin types. Merle Norman's motto is try before you buy, so we'd love for you to come in, talk to us about your concerns, try the products, and we want you to feel good when you leave here, so we hope to see you soon.
Want to feel good in your skin? Visit Merle Norman in Northgate Mall, Tullahoma.
Let the Smokehouse be your mountain getaway destination in beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee. Enjoy our cabins, restaurant, and old general store. Shop thesmokehouse.com, featuring homemade barbecue sauces, jellies, and many other fine Tennessee products. Our live Music on the Mountain series features some of the best local and Nashville talent every Friday and Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. No cover, kids welcome.
Lawson, and we're moving a step up the ladder to talk some more about Common Core and where that's going, and also begin to talk about Governor Haslam's Tennessee Promise, and even the possibility down the road that we might be looking at 6-year high schools. So, Dr. Lawson, let's begin again. You know, the Common Core has been tossed around a bit. it's said sometimes it's an international benchmark standard, and there was a point in which I thought, what does all that mean? How do I know what a Common Core benchmark looks like?
Yeah, from the Common Core's perspective, let me give a quick background. Common Core is an offshoot of Janet Napolitano's work when she was the chairman of the National Governors Association as chairman of Arizona. Governor Napolitano said we ought to have some commonality in the core curricula that we teach. So the Common Core was developed by primarily by monies from the Gates Institute, and those monies were directed to find a set of standards, a set of learning objectives that we had in specific grade levels that would be portable from state to state. So about 45 states, as well as Washington, D.C., have joined together to adopt the Common Core state standards. Those Common Core state standards are much like learning standards that we've had in the state of Tennessee in the past, except they are common throughout each state that's a member, and the Common Core standards are limited to reading, language arts, as well as mathematics. Additionally, those Common Core standards then are pulled out, and to answer your question about how are they internationally benchmarked, they are pulled out and they are compared to other standards internationally, and those standards are gauged against a tool that's called PISA, P-I-S-A, with an attempt to make sure that there is some international norming of those standards. Now, candidly, I think Governor Napolitano's concern and most of the state's governor's concerns weren't nearly so much about international benchmarking, but were a lot more about the portability and making sure that how we did in our individual states was something that we could appropriately and accurately compare from state to state.
Okay. What I think, you said something a little bit earlier, I think that was a bit clarifying for me, and that is the fact that you would tell the standard by what the student is expected to come out of a class with.
Absolutely.
Up here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we think about the Common Core standards, one of the challenges that we have faced is we are terribly careful, and most of the dialogue that you've heard in the last 18 months or so about implementation of Common Core standards is a dialogue that suggests our educational issues in this nation, while they may be national in scope, they should be addressed at the state level. We don't have a federal education program. We have states who are empowered to provide education for each of their citizens.
But I think I heard somewhere back down the line the actual Common Core standards were developed by a set of state government officials, were they not? They,
in fact, are an offshoot of national governors rather than the Federal Department of Education. Yeah. Yeah. Where this got a little convoluted and dirty is there became a discussion as to how are we going to measure how the standards look in Tennessee versus the standards in Rhode Island versus the standards in Alabama. The initial dialogue that came out of the Department of Education at the federal level said, let's measure with a standard assessment, and there were two choices of the standard assessment that came out. One was Smarter Balanced that had a consortia of about 28, 29 states, and the other was PARC. And PARC is the consortia that the state of Tennessee is a member of, had about 25 states involved in PARC.
Was that essentially the same group that established the Common Core to start with?
It's in fact a subset. Okay. Both Smarter Balanced and PARC are a subset of those initial Common Core states, and they began the dialogue of preparing a test, preparing assessments in grades basically 1 through 11 that could be used as the basis of measuring how we're doing on Common Core between states. So instead of having an Alabama achievement test and a Tennessee achievement test, we would have a like basis of comparison in all the states. In the last 18 months, as this dialogue has continued, though, there has developed a lot of concern about federal intrusion into state departments of education. So you've seen some of our neighbor states, Alabama, for instance, has said, we're no longer going to be a park state, and what we're going to do is develop our own measure of assessment of how we're doing on our Common Core standards. Georgia has migrated away to an ACT-based assessment, which I understand and which is of some value, but if our ultimate reason for providing that assessment is some portability of data and understanding that this is what Tennessee looks like, this is what Alabama looks like, and this is what Rhode Island looks like, it would make a lot of sense to have those assessments be the same, those assessments be normed, and those assessments be portable in our understanding. And I'm afraid that that's where we may see some unwinding of what's happening with Common Core. Because we've always had standards. State of Tennessee has had standards for years, but we've had a different assessment. So Governor Bredesen got us involved in this business over the fact that he felt that as we compared our assessment on TCAP to our assessment on NAEP, there was a terrible disconnect. And his reason for entry into Common Core was the logic that says what we do on NAEP, what we do on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, ought to look like what we do on TCAP. Let's make sure that there's a tighter relationship with a tighter set of standards, and that tighter set of standards has become the Common Core state standards.
Okay. Well, so Park is in, and I think in Tennessee. From what I understand, Park is somewhat debated. Common Core is probably going to stand withstand the assaults that have been going on.
Right.
But Park is a little different situation.
Yeah, I think the real challenge. I was in Nashville the last 2 days at hearings about Common Core and Park. I don't hear anybody talking about not having a set of standards that are rigorous, that are relevant, that in fact prepare our kids for college and careers. I do hear a lot of questions and concerns about whether or not Park and Smarter Balance will actually measure what they purport to measure. Part of the reason for the trepidation and fear is this: we have tied teacher licensure and teacher careers to student performance on a test, and we've yet to see the test. So I think there's a great concern that many in the educational community have about tying such a high stake to a test that is under development right now. The other thing that I personally have a great problem with is this. In Tullahoma, Tennessee, my folks understand what a 36 on the ACT means. They understand that if I've got 20, I'm going to be above average. If I've got 36, I've maxed out on that test. I can't tell anybody what the norming of Park looks like. I can't tell anybody what the relationship and the concordance between Park and ACT will be. And I don't like to be in a situation where I can't answer those questions.
Well, if you go to, and we've touched on this before, if you're going to lead in the direction of using SAT or ACT as your measurement, is that going to require all the students to take? That hasn't been the case in the past. All students don't take those two tests. Would they now have to take them so that you've still got it, so you have a basis for comparison now?
And after commercial, I'm going to answer that question for you, sir.
All right. Well, we must have run out of short time, so let's take a break. We'll come back.
The final countdown has begun on the remaining 2013s at Russell Barnett Kia. With only a few left in inventory, these deals are amazing. Check out this 2013 Kia Sportage, yours today for $21,500 or $349 a month. That's incredible. With America's best warranty, the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, Kia is the power to surprise. So come on down to Russell Barnett Kia and let us show you why we are #1 in customer satisfaction. And remember, why buy anywhere else?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please, for the following public service announcement. He's back. The Watkins Man is back, bringing his world-famous Watkins products to 104 East Lauderdale Street in Tullahoma, where Richard and Stephanie Carpenter have opened the area's only Watkins store. Since 1886, Watkins has produced all natural products, starting with the pain liniment and now including soaps, oils, creams, scrubs, royal jelly, beeswax, supplements dedicated to natural health and pain management, cover total external and internal body care. And don't forget the world-famous spices, extracts, teas, and cooking ingredients. With too many products to list, know that all Watkins products are 100% natural, using the highest quality ingredients obtainable. Always remember, with Watkins, when you buy the best, you use less.
A salute to the never wasters, the coupon clippers, switch flippers, one last drop of milk drippers, the thoughtfully thrifty, and the just plain cheap. Charter respects your economic IQ and honors it with a phone service worthy of your ever-watchful wallet. Charter Phone, just $19.99 a month, for real monthly savings for fabulously frugal folks like you. Switch to Charter Phone and get unlimited local and long distance and 13 calling features with no extra fees like the phone company charges you.
I'm meteorologist Leland Statham from the News Channel 5 Weather Center. Look to Jim Fuller and crew for local news night here on Channel 6.
We're back, folks, and we're talking today with Dr. Dan Lawson about what's going on, what's in the pot that's being stirred these days in the field of education. And we have so far been talking about Common Core longer than we intended to. But we're talking about the possibility of the park being sort of set aside and maybe using ACT or SAT as the test, right, as far as Tullahoma schools are concerned.
Yeah, I think you asked a great question about if we in fact start using ACT or SAT as that basis of comparison, that exit exam, wouldn't we have to universally administer? I think a lot of folks in our community and a lot of folks in our state don't realize that we already do. Every junior We do right now.
Tullahoma or all of Tennessee?
We in Tullahoma, okay, and we in the state of Tennessee universally administer right now. The universal administration simply means that every junior enrolled in public high schools takes the ACT. That is a part of the accountability for each of the school systems. That's a part of the accountability for our state. And 10, 12 years ago, when we began this process, we had a situation where we saw our ACT drop from about a 24 on average to about a 21. And we had many folks in the community wonder what happened. Why did we suddenly lose quality and lose these points? Well, we didn't lose any quality. We had a group of kids who formerly had never taken this assessment. Now they're in the mix. So you truly have a cross-section of every student in the high school. You truly have a performance measure that shows the difference. So one of the things I'd love to have our viewers understand is don't start comparing states and school districts unless you have a good understanding of the level of participation in those exams. We'll have several states who don't give 20% of their students that ACT or SAT.
Well, that isn't going to work. I mean, if you're going to have a comparison, you're going to have everybody take the test.
Absolutely.
Whatever the test is. And also, you need to try to move everybody toward the same exam. And so it really doesn't matter whether that's park or something else. We all need to get together, and you need to reconvene the government state groups and come up with the right test.
You are overestimating my influence there, sir.
All right. Before we leave this, I did want to mention a couple of things that that Tennessee has indicated, has made a great deal of progress recently in both math and reading, but we still are down the totem pole somewhere. It doesn't mean we're at the top of the heap. We were 25th in math and 14th in reading, I believe, is the right numbers. But the other thing that is noteworthy here, which has got to be fixed, and that is that 60% of our people coming out of high school across, not Tullahoma, across the state, 60% of them that want to go into college require remedial work before they can take up the college level courses. And that's, somebody put a tag on that, which I guess is a national number, that costs us about $3 billion a year. That needs to be fixed down at the high school and secondary level.
In addition to that challenge, though, those students who are enrolled in developmental courses at college are much less likely to finish college. So they don't experience success. Those developmental courses don't count on their transcript toward their program of studies. No one wins when students are involved in developmental courses. It's certainly both the IHEs, the Institutes of Higher Education, and K-12 community needs to address that situation because it benefits no one.
Well, that's even wasteful.
Yes.
If you get right down to it. Okay, let's move on. We want to talk about Tennessee Promise, and we want to move sort of into the introduction to the six-year high school. Tennessee Promise. The governor's waiving tuition to community and tech colleges. That's what he wants to do. There's a little bit of a flap going on about how that's to be funded, but that sounds like that can be worked out. The independent colleges have come up with another.
Yeah, I think there are some very valid concerns. First, let me say I very much commend the governor for this vision, for this idea. His goal and his hope is to provide last dollar scholarships for every child who wants to go to community colleges and technical colleges. By last dollar, what that means is they apply for their Pell Grant, they apply for their federal aid, and then they will use HOPE monies to backfill those dollars. In his proposal, you would be allowed up to $3,000 a year at the community college level for your first 2 years, and then up to $5,000 or $5,000 a year for your junior and senior year once you go to the four-year college. Certainly, the challenge that our privates are making is that in their program, they are undermining the effort that's available. And the other thing that's not been talked about is our students who leave Tullahoma High School who will go to the University of Tennessee, go to middle, they will also be limited to $3,000 rather than their $4,000 right now. So the HOPE promise that we're dealing with, I think is a great deal for our community college population. I think it's created perhaps some challenges for some of our four-year programs. But I love the vision and I love the idea because we are in an economy that requires continued education, and it's not going to be appropriate to believe that a high school education is going to be sufficient for our kids.
Well, I think the answer is that it isn't.
Right.
And that even at the high school level, we're going to have to get more involved in technology. It looks to me like that we're close enough in the ballpark that the funding will be worked out.
I'm confident that will happen, yes, sir.
That will happen. So we are talking about, and it was kind of interesting that, all right, yeah, we're about to run out of time. I did want to mention the fact that there is currently another effort going on, primarily up in the New York, Chicago area at the moment, to establish a six-year high school, and that is involving major corporations participating with them and providing mentoring and jobs and helping with the curriculum. What do you think about that?
I think any time that we have partnerships between business providers, higher education, and K-12, everyone benefits. We are blessed in that we work in a community like Tullahoma, where we have a great partnership today with Motlow. We are doing things today that we were unable to do 10 years ago, and I'm confident that 5 years from now, we're going to do more still.
Bound to. Well, okay, again, the name of the game, folks, is that the jobs coming down the pike are technical, and we've got to prepare, and that's technical across the board. We've got to prepare our kids to be able to fill those. With that, let's take a short commercial break and we'll wrap up.
Imagine a world with more birthdays. We strive for it every day. We fight to get people the best access to care and the chance for more parties to plan. We're the American Cancer Society. Help create a world with more birthdays at morebirthdays.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Yeah. We're back, folks, and we're talking today, have been talking with Dr. Dan Lawson, and the subject really is the changes going on in the secondary education world and the very vital effort of trying to prepare getting the education system to prepare people for the jobs that are coming along, which are more and more technical. Jobs are getting more technical, more jobs are getting technical, and we've got to equip them. Well, Dr. Lawson, you got a final word?
Several. Obviously, our school system is more than a pre-vocational environment. We want and expect our kids to leave here prepared to be great citizens, to be prepared to be great contributors to their community, prepared to be great parents. So those elements are all critical for us. And we know that there's an interface with the business community. We know there's an interface with jobs. Expect and hope to see, and we will work to see, increased cooperation, increased efforts to see our kids have some of those great opportunities and jobs, because no one on this panel wants to be in a situation where we are preparing our best and brightest to leave us and never come back.
Well said, and we are in danger of ignoring the elements of education that really provide a well-rounded, smart citizen, who can carry their load. So with that, folks, we need to thank you for joining us, and thank Dr. Lawson for taking the time to join us. He's always available, and we appreciate that. Thank you for inviting us into your parlor, and we'll see you next time.